Welcome everyone to Zine Club, LA Public Library Zine Club, 4 to 5, now just once a month. And we have different zine makers and zine people come down and talk about different things each month. So this month we're going to talk about the efforts to rebuild the zine collection that was lost due to the January Palisades fires. There was a Palisades zine collection, which I helped create for the 2 years that I was there. And sadly, it burned down. But with this great effort, oh, here's Monica. Let me add Monica to um
Monica.
type in. Yay, multi add spotlight. Okay, so with the help of Amanda, Lisa, Monica, and more, we've been getting zine donations, and I want to hear all about it. Also, they had a table at Zine Fest and also posts to mail in zines and tables everywhere, an effort from a lot of people. And I feel like it started. I saw multiple people starting, but I feel like first saw it on the Instagram A to Z Press. So, but go ahead and take it away. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Zeba, for inviting us and giving us a platform to share about, the kind of the amazing zine community because, we started this not knowing what we were going to expect. All three of us were just talking a lot, being like, I don't know, I'm just going to show up and we'll see what happens. And it's just been so impressive how much people care. Um, And, I'm still getting packages in the mail. I know that other branches are, Ziba, your branches. I mean, we've been getting, I don't even know if I told Amanda and Monica this, but we've been getting packages. We got one from Japan. We get them
Oh,
from other
wow.
states. We're getting people writing little letters. And I really want to figure out a way to compile that, like to somehow, either make a blog post or something of scanned of just like the mail or the letters, and just kind of how impressive that's been. I didn't expect it to go this far. But thank you for this platform. We kind of made a rough outline of what we were going to talk about. We weren't really sure, but I thought that we would start with each of us sharing kind of how we got into zine community and why this mattered so much to us. I'll go first since I started talking. I started doing zines when I was in high school from LiveJournal, if anyone remembers what LiveJournal was. And I was in the desert and there wasn't a whole lot of things art community wise, but I found LiveJournal and a bunch of punks and fanzines were on there. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. And decided to start doing zines at my high school and started a little club. It didn't go past freshman year, but that kind of stuck with me. And I didn't do it for a very long time. And actually, with lockdown and the pandemic, I started getting back into it again because I realized I think like many people like, oh, these parts of me I've missed. Why don't I go back to it? And so I started doing zines again and found this kind of stumbled upon this amazing avenue of zine making in libraries and um, kind of haven't looked back. And the zine community has been so welcoming in a lot of ways and given that opportunity to make without the pressure of being something like I always call it artist with a capital A. You don't have to be that level. You could be whatever you want. And I think that freedom is so important for creativity. And that's really impacted me greatly. So that's kind of how I got into zine making.
I can go next. Um, okay, excuse me, because I'm like in the midst of having a cold, so a little bit congested and brain is a little bit mush, but I'm just really happy that like truly this has become so much more than what I could have like ever imagined. I I knew that the Palisades branch had burned down and I knew that Ziba had worked there and like built the zine library and it just like was such a huge loss and I had sort of like just thinking like what is something we can do and to help the zine community. Sorry, now I'm like not talking totally articulately, but having Lisa and Monica and us just like start this effort and I know like there are some other things going on too elsewhere and I think just truly seeing the outpouring of support from the zine community is not something that I could have like really imagined. So much like just yeah, I just can't convey like my gratitude enough. But for me personally, getting into zines was pretty much during the pandemic. I feel like I was late coming into zines, but I'm like, man, I wish I knew about zines when I like when I was in high school or something, you know. I'm like, damn, that's so cool. If I had known about it back then. I'm like, it feels like, you know, getting into zines really changed my life, and just having a design background and, you know, just feeling so perfect, needing to be so perfect in so many ways. Having zines just really allowed me to like express myself in ways that I didn't know that I could before. Um, Rather than like designing things with a purpose. Like I wasn't used to like making art that is just for expressing myself without sort of like an end goal or like a client or like a project or things like that. So it really changed my life in that way. And since I got into zines during the pandemic, there weren't any zine fests, and I was like, dang, darn. Yeah. And so I tried to find as many like online things as I could. There were like things by like the San Francisco Center for the Book. I attended a talk from them, and that was really intriguing. Um, and slowly got into it, and then later on actually joined you know, Ziba's LAPL Zine Club, and that's like really how I got started. I did my first like mail trade with John Dishwasher, who's here, and that was like really, really cool to me as well. And really, I feel like I owe so much of my zine journey to Ziba. And so I just was like, when I heard about this happen, I really wanted to do what I could for the Palisades branch, and just to sort of also show my thanks to Ziba for everything you've done for the community. It's just been so impactful. And I'm like really grateful. So yeah, that's me.
All right, I'll round us out. My name is Monica. I'm from the Whittier Public Library. I'm also new to zines as far as like 2022, maybe. I had just got promoted from part-time to full-time, and our library was partnering with a local community college because they had received a grant to do some zine stuff, and we were kind of merged in with them. So as an offsite location, we started to do zine workshops at our library, which I hosted. And I don't like, I don't know, like I don't want to swear or anything, but I put like my whole chest, like I don't want to say like I don't half, you know, things. So I kind of just fell in love with it and ran with it, and like it turned into little zine workshops, and then eventually I got a grant which allowed me to host our very first zine fest. John actually was one of our very first one of the vendors for our very first zine fest. So yeah, I kind of just, it seemed to mesh well with me. I've always been interested in the arts and like really big fan, and like I was that kid that like had two art periods every year and like did art club. So like I don't know, it just seemed to mesh well, and the library world's really small and the zine world's even smaller. So I met Lisa at ALA because I volunteered for the zine pavilion, and we sort of just like bonded over like our love of librarianship and just like community, which is also like full effect in zines as well. And then 2025 happened, and it was like the holiday season, and then everything was on fire. So it was just like kind of crazy. And I think Amanda sort of just like spearheaded it because she was just like, I want to do something. And I was like, okay, say less. What can we do? And it turned into like this big community, just like everyone so supportive and like just wanting to do everything because everyone felt like that loss. And it's like, it's crazy because obviously natural disasters are like everywhere, but like for us as like LA, it's always somewhere else and it's never here. And it was like this time it was just like everyone knew someone that was like directly impacted or lost something, or so it was just, it wasn't even like a hesitation. Amanda was like, what can we do? And I said, how can I help? And I unfortunately missed Zine Fest, but it was nice to be a part of the Crushes Zine Fest that we had. And that was like the first time I met Amanda, and it was like, it was just nice. And like, I don't know, I really like the community aspect of it all because that's so ingrained in like public libraries like throughout. So it just seemed to go hand in hand. So yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me. That's it. I'll mute.
No, don't mute. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't know what to do with the fire. I think all three of us were just so desperate. And Monica and I had been chatting throughout the whole time of just checking in on each other, kind of a chain of comfort for friends. And Monica and I both love zines, and we were both, librarians, also zinesters, all of the above. And it was just, once I found out about, the Palisades and Ziba, and I work, sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Lisa. I work at the Venice Library, and I started a zine collection there, and I've been working on it. And to hear that basically my sister branch that Ziba had started and was partnering with us was burned down, was just, the loss was just so high for me. It was very personal for me, and I think for a lot of Angelinos. And it was also very, to be frank, it was very frustrating for me to hear how many people didn't know that we lost one of our biggest zine collections. That was really hard for me. I felt very frustrated that people didn't know about it. Like I think I just needed people to realize, like, this isn't just, eat the rich. This is a wealthy library. I mean, like, no, like we literally lost a handcrafted 500 zine collection that was very difficult to even start at LAPL. It's like a whole journey. And that really, like, not to make a joke, but it kind of started a fire in me of frustration, of wanting to reach out and also do something about it. I didn't know what to do as like a city worker. I didn't know where to start, but I reached out to Ziba and let her know that Monica and I were like, hey, what can we do? We want to do something. I have a library. My boss was on board of doing whatever we wanted, but I was like, what do I do? And she connected us with Amanda. And it just kind of blew up from there of, okay, what do you need? Where can we go? And we used all of our connections. We ended up tabling at a friend of mine, and I think now of you two as well, Michaela, who works at the Eagle Rock Center of Arts. She does a zine fest called Crushes, and she was like, what do you guys need from us? Like, how can we help advertise? And they were the first organized zine like group to really help with this. Monica reached out to her library. I mean, it was just like, okay, what do we do? And then I reached out to LA Zine Fest, and Ziba made that happen, where we were able to table both days just as librarians. So we didn't sell anything. It was just, hey, we're here to remind you that, one, we have zine programming at libraries, we have a community here, and also like to let you guys know, like, we need help. How do we, we need you. And it was insane how many people have shown up. I think we have like rough data, because they're being sent everywhere, but we almost have 2,000 zines donated just since we started this in February. That's insane. That's insane. Yeah. But for me, that was what a lot of my driving focus was. This was just like a helpless feeling of, I love being a zinester. I love being a zine librarian. I don't feel like enough people are aware of the cost of this and how much we can be there for each other and what that can look like. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without Amanda and Monica, to be honest with you. Yeah, that was my driving force with this.
Yeah, I just want to add too. Also, I also didn't introduce myself. I'm Amanda, and I'm like not a librarian at all. I truly just like wanted to help start this because, like I said, like, I owe so much to Ziba for my like all of my zine journal journey. And so I just was like, and it just was, it hit me so deeply because zines have changed my life. And I'm, for so many people, zines are so many people who are into zines, like it's a big part of their life too. Like they love it, and we're like all in it. And to hear about that loss was just so like, and with the fires, and there was just so many efforts to help. What can we do? And I just feeling so lost. And I was like, okay, what can we do for like our community? And being able to do that, it just like, and not being a librarian, I just was like, okay, maybe like we'll just get a few donations here and there, and like maybe like a couple hundred or something. And then it was like, whoa, this is like really like like snowballing, and like that's amazing. But also I was like, I cannot, yeah, no, I definitely would not have been able to do this without Lisa and Monica, who Ziba connected me with them, and it was just so so beautiful, this like this sort of like little team that we have, and supporting each other. And like I said, I'm not a librarian, so it's just so blows my mind to like be able to like work with Lisa as well, who like you're part of LAPL, and be able to like really get that like, you know, the knowledge that, you know, that you have as being a librarian. And like, you know, there are a lot of hoops that you kind of have to jump through, especially with starting a zine library, and all those things. And so to be able to have the backing of LAPL is just huge. Like I am like so grateful for that. That is not what I intended from the beginning. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this like just for funsies, you know, not like, you know, not it's serious, but it's also like this is not like it was like it blew up in like the best way. I was like could not have imagined. And Monica as well, who is also a librarian. I'm like, this is amazing. Like librarians are so cool. Y'all are the best. And
We're
yeah.
really not.
No.
We're just a bunch of nerds that turned it into a career.
No, but that's like that's so good though.
That's right, though. Super nerdy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know. I mean, to be honest, you guys, the cataloging of zines is so insane for LAPL. Like, Ziba had to start this, and I know it's better than when you started, but it is absolutely bonkers. What we're doing is really an act of love. I mean,
Yeah.
just for you guys to know, it's like you have to scan each zine, you have to measure it by centimeters. I messed that up quite a lot at the beginning because I kept doing inches. For each zine that's donated, you have to fill out an individual form for it. You put like all the details. And the good news is though, is that what I'm quite proud of is that we were able to accomplish is that for each zine that's been donated through this drive, we will have it on the catalog, the digital catalog, that it
Wow.
is donated. I know, I haven't told you guys, but it is donated in honor of the Palisades Library. And this is one to keep track of everything so people forever can kind of see, oh, okay, this is what the community did, but also, you know, it doesn't hurt the integrity of the zine because we're already putting barcodes on it. I know this is like super nerdy librarian stuff, but it's like heavy on my mind. And it's just, I mean, I think that's going to be really, really impactful to be able to have that on the catalog of that each zine one was donated by someone in the honor of this, but that it's like clearly stated this is for the loss of our zine collection. So but yeah, it's wild. It's wild. So thank you everyone for donating. It's going to take a little while though to get them in the catalog, but we're working on it.
Yeah, it was just so crazy because, like Amanda said, we were just like, well, what can we do to help? We'll probably get like, because I know it was like around 400 that unfortunately were lost. And we were just like, well, maybe we can just like make a little dent. And then, like, with crushes, we almost like did half. So it was crazy of just like seeing like the outpouring, even like among the vendors. Like, they're like, whatever we have left over, we'll give it to you at the end. So it was just very, very nice. And like, that's always been like so gratifying, and like, not to be like the Debbie Downer, but like just giving me like some faith, because I'm like, well, everyone was like, it was very well received. Like everyone was just like on board of like, what can we do to help? Or like, I don't have them with me, but like I can mail them. Tori, who was one of our other vendors too, she like donated like her personal zine collection.
Like
She was like,
100 or something, like
Yeah,
yeah,
90.
like
Yeah.
her alone was like 100. And it was just,
yeah.
it was so nice because obviously like so many of us are like lost and like trying to navigate the tragedy and like go back to day, but like how can you, because like obviously this is going to take some time. But it was just like sort of gratifying to me, like, well, I did like a little, like I did something. And it was just like, I don't know, it was really, really nice. I found it very rewarding. And I'm just, like I said before, when we were talking earlier, I was like, I'm just here for vibes. Like, it's been pretty good vibes. I gotta say, everyone's been very kind and generous and just like wanting to help. And you can tell like that collection. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna mute. I'm like on reference as well. So
Librarian life. It's so true. Yeah, I think it's just that's like restored my faith in people too, of, you know, a lot of things were happening with the fire, and people, you know, obviously going through grief and having feelings, but it restored, I think, my faith in the zine community of people will show up. And we were really nervous to be like, you know, to go around to vendors and say, hey, I have no money. Do you want to donate? Because I didn't want to, like, as someone who makes zines and Amanda as an artist, it's like we were really, really conscious of what that means. You know, we didn't want anyone to feel taken advantage of, or we really wanted it to be like, there's no pressure on this. This isn't like a performance thing. This is, hey, you know, we can't pay you for this, but we will be putting you in the catalog and you are helping us build new zine libraries. Like, that was really, really important because we didn't want anyone to feel disrespected or taken advantage of. I think that's really easy to happen in the zine community and our art not being taken seriously. So that was like really heavy on our minds of every event being very clear. This is what we're doing with them. You know, they're not going to be hidden away in a basement. We are cataloging them. It's just going to take time, but we want to respect your art. And it's okay if you say no. That was really important.
Yeah, and to still get so much support despite that, like despite that worry that we were constantly having, is just
I have a basic question.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
For you, Lisa, specifically. Why, and for you specifically, why is it important that your art taken seriously?
I'm so sorry, you broke up. We couldn't hear the question.
I don't know what to do. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I was saying this is a question specifically for you, Lisa.
Okay. Yeah.
Why is it important for your art to be taken seriously?
For the art to be taken seriously?
No, but not necessarily art, but your art.
My art.
Yeah.
I think if you've heard anything from that, it's probably my own art trauma over life. So I definitely went to school for poetry and writing and had a lot of backlash or like pushback to my type of writing and style. I was told very early on that poetry wouldn't get me anywhere, even if that was like my main thing of writing. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but if I said anything about my art being taken seriously, I've just had a lot of pushback in the art world of LA. And that's one reason why I really love zine culture, is because it kind of helped me get over myself of needing to be taken seriously. It's like I can just create to create without having that pushback from professors or my peers of what's good enough, you know. That was something I took really hard. I stopped writing for like 10 years after undergrad because I just couldn't do it. I felt very like I was my own worst enemy at the end there. And getting back into zine making really freed me from that. And obviously I'm still working through that. And so yeah, I don't know if that answered the question or not, but that's
it's a personal question, which is really fun to get to ask a personal question.
yeah.
But yeah, I would say I mean, you never know what to expect when you ask a personal question, but yeah, I just noticed that really stood out as far as
Yeah, thank you for
that your art, that you want your art to be taken seriously, which is a very strong statement.
Yeah, thank you for pointing it out. I didn't even realize I said it. I think, again, it's kind of rooted in my own art trauma. I think a lot of people who are interested in creative works in our society has a lot of pushback in anything, right? It's like, if you can't sell it, why are you doing it? That was very much the impression I got was, well, you're not going to be able to publish this. Like, publishers won't accept it. So why should you do it? Or, you know, your teacher's not going to give you the best score. So like, what's the point? And I was surrounded.
So have you been able to answer that question for yourself?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's one reason why I think I feel so emotional about zines, is because that's how I started my writing journey when I was 13, 14. And I lost it going to school, and I lost it trying to be something for myself, and getting back into zines and giving myself space to take up space has been just very healing for me, but also really hard. Like, it's still very difficult to put my art out there and to, you know, be like, hey, do you want to read this? Or like, it's very exposing, right? And vulnerable. So that's something that every time I go to a zine fest or every time someone reads my work, I get a little bit braver about it.
Yeah,
So
like,
probably so to like just wrap up your the question, it sounds like you're doing well with balancing being an artist and then having your employment as well.
Yeah, I'm doing, I think that's my reason again, like I'm really passionate about creating spaces in libraries for people because I wish more people knew about zine making, especially artists of any type, because it gives you freedom that I don't think traditional art gives you a lot of the time if you're doing it professionally or you're doing it in classes at school, education wise. I just want more people to have that space and know that there is a space for them, no matter how silly, fun, vulnerable, like it's okay. It doesn't have to fit a mold. There is no mold. It's up to you. And I want more people to have access to that. So creating more library branches that have that space is like it's a personal project for me. Like this is all very personal for me. Um, and yeah, I think it's a progress, you know, for me as an artist, as a librarian, and someone who keeps showing up and being like, okay, here's my art. Do you want to trade? You know?
yeah, and like to add to that, I like the zine workshops that I host, like our big thing is like there are no rules really to zines. Like if you're intimidated, like a lot of the people that come to our zine workshops, like I think the word freaks them out. And then so I rephrase it. I was like, well, have you ever like scrapbooked before? Have you ever collaged before? And most of the time they're like, oh yeah, like, and I was like, that's a zine. Like you can make that a zine. And then there's like if you take like pictures and you have photography, you can compile all of that into a zine. Like it's whatever you're so passionate about and like creative about, you can turn into a zine. And I feel like that word trips up so many people because like I don't even know what it is. Well, like first of all, they call it Zine, and I'm like, okay, step back, no. So it's just like that, but it's just it's in the language, right? Like if they don't know, they fear it or they're intimidated. But once you break it down to like something they're familiar with, like I had one of the patrons that came, she was like an older woman, and then she was like intimidated. She brought her, I think her granddaughter with her because her granddaughter was all for it. And then she was like kind of skeptical, but then she was like talking about these scrapbooks that she does for her family. And I was like, that is a zine. There are personal zines that are like family based. And then she was like, oh my God, that's great. Like, I didn't even think of it that way. So it's like there's a freeing element to it when there's like no pressure. And for me personally, like not until I met Lisa, I was like, oh yeah, I don't make zines. And then I showed her one. She's like, this is a zine. Like this is what you give in your class. And I was like, no, it's not. And she's like, it's in a zine. I was like, okay, you're right. Like fair. That's fine. So it's like even I get tripped up on it too, because I'm not like Amanda who's like super talented and creative, and like Lisa is literally like so talented and well versed, and I'm just like, here's my silly little pink zine that shows you how to make a zine. But I'm also like coming to terms with the fact that like, oh yeah, I did make a zine, so technically yes, I make zines, even if it's just like informational. Like that's an info zine. I'm teaching people in zine format, so it's just like trying to step back and put less pressure on it and just creating, which is so nice to have, especially with all the craziness that's going on. It's nice to just sit down and do a little one-page fold, and it's great.
Absolutely. I want to add something too. This sort of like the idea of being taken seriously with your art, and especially like if you think about, I mean, how maybe like the society is set up, and it's like you're not taken seriously unless you're published or like, you know, you have some large platform to be able to like, you know, spread whatever message or whatever. But like zines, you know, there's no bureaucracy around zines. Anyone can make a zine. And zines can take so many different forms. I feel like, you know, we're all making zines because we want to be witnessed, right? We want to tell our story. And I feel like that inherently allows it to be taken seriously. Excuse me, because then whoever, you know, I mean, even me, I'm like, if I make this one zine and like one other person likes it, picks it up and reads it and is like, damn, yeah, I got you. I'm like, yes, that's like all I need. It doesn't even need to be like, I don't know. I'm maybe, maybe speaking for myself, but I feel like a lot of people I know who make zines, get into and have that mindset. We're not like trying to make like millions off of zines. Like that's not the point, right? And so I think that that really opens up and allows for that kind of, the typical sort of like capitalist mindset to just like, that's not what we're about here. We are
I have
just
a
out here
question
to
for you. I have a
kill.
question for you, Amanda.
Yeah.
I have a question for you about wanting to express your stories and wanting to be seen. Recently, that realization dawned on me recently that attention is kind of like energy and life. You know,
Mhm.
like if you don't get attention or therefore energy, your life force kind of starts to shrink,
Mm.
and you can become kind of just invisible almost. So, can you? What are some thoughts about that? Like as far as what you said, as far as wanting to share your story, wanting to be seen. What are your thoughts on just the significance of that? The significance as a person needing attention and needing to be seen and not just like visually seen, but sort of understood and have a place.
I mean, yeah, I think as humans, we all want to be seen and heard by somebody, right? I think that there's so many parts of our lives where we feel like we could be really alone, right? And our brains are really good at convincing us of that. And I think that being able to feel enough. I mean, it takes courage to tell your story too, right? So like to feel enough courage to be able to share maybe a vulnerable story through a zine and have that connect with someone is so powerful. Like, when my grandfather passed a couple years ago, I started making grief zines related to his passing, and the conversations that came up out of that, when people would pick up the zine and then we would talk about our sort of like their story of grief and like having lost somebody that they care about. And it just is like really opens up this sort of dialogue, right? And like for connection between you and another person. And I think that um, I don't know. I feel like it kind of like, yeah, again, restores faith in humanity a little bit, right? Because you're here connecting with another person on a very personal.
You know what you remind me of? You remind me of how difficult it is to balance maintaining your own story in life and
Mhm.
also witnessing another person's story. That
Yes.
that balance can be quite difficult um, to feel content.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I see what you mean. And I think that being able to, I don't know, at least for me, being able to continue sharing my stories through my zines is a way that I can feel like I'm still giving space to my own story. A lot of times it's easy to be like my voice doesn't matter or my stories don't matter because of X, Y, and Z, right? And so it's easy to think that way. It's hard to be like, no, it does matter. I'm going to share this. But then it is really gratifying to be able to connect with other
Yeah,
people.
see that, and that's an area that it stands out like that gray area
Mhm.
with okay, it's great to share your story,
Mhm.
but are you sure you're sharing your story and maybe not like something that is more just simply observational? Because,
Mm.
for example, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, hmm, I could see instances where people are like making zines about things that they just observed too. It, I don't want to be like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that, but it depends on what they're making it about. I don't know. Zines are so free. It's like, as long as you're not putting people down and like, spreading like, I don't know, misinformation and
I think what you're saying is you don't want to get so stuck anywhere. Like you don't want to get stuck any place. You know, you don't want to get stuck in telling your story. You don't want to get stuck in watching someone else's story. You know, you want there to be a certain freedom to life.
yeah, some sense of freedom. I mean, yeah, just maintaining that and just kind of like, um, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
No.
But yeah. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Sorry if that didn't really answer your question, but
Yeah, I think that's you know what, that's also, that's cool. It's kind of like, I call it a gray area because I went to college, and you know, for me, college was very much about having a goal and a purpose in mind, and I kind of missed out on recognizing those gray areas.
Mm,
Yeah. I think it's important too to remember that you can make zines for yourself and never share them. That's
yeah,
something I
totally.
forgot too for a while there. I felt like once I started making them, it was like, oh, right, I have to share this and I have to advertise this. But it was just like, no, I have so many zines that are just for me. And I might like tell a friend about it, but I have no intention of ever making copies of them or advertising them or having them be part of anyone's collection, because it's just a space for me to make something that I need to express, or to help me, I think, to figure out, like you were talking about, those gray areas. Like, is this how I'm feeling about this, or is this my expression? And that's what I love about it, is it's not, there's no structure of you have to, right? There's no deadline. There's no person grading you. It's kind of this weird, beautiful space of you get to make it what you want it to be. And I think that's why it's so hard to claim sometimes. Like Monica and I had long talks about that. It's like, I got an email from another librarian who's interested in becoming a zine librarian. And we're like, well, how do I get the accreditation for that? Like, is there like a certificate I have to take or classes? And I was like, no, you just kind of call yourself a zine librarian and that's kind of it.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like, what?
essentially what I did. They're like, oh, can you do a zine workshop? And I was like, okay. And I did one. And then I was like, this is actually really cool. How many of these workshops can I do? And then like it turned into 6 workshops. I was like, okay, what else can I do? And then it turned into a zine fest. And it's just like, there really isn't. And then like how Lisa was saying,
Kind of how
like
seeds work.
it's sort of like, you know, some people write in their journal or they like have a diary. Like that's totally fine if that's how you like decompress and express yourself too. Like you don't have to show it to anyone. It's great if like you do have someone you're like, hey, just take a look at this, and like how Amanda pointed out, like that's how you connect. Like that's fine too. But like I don't know. For me, like personally, it's just like the fact that zines are so freeing because there isn't just like one way for one person, because that's at the end of the day, that's like how we all are, right? Like everybody's different. So it's like whatever you create is going to be different. Like if you can create a connection through that, great. And then if not, maybe you learn something about yourself. So that's pretty much it, really.
I think everyone has different motivations, and that's what's been really amazing to see the zines that have been sent in for donations, because they're so different. Like,
I think if I like to be spontaneous sometimes, and I think being different probably in that gray area is probably often due to just all those spontaneous moments that start maybe condensing, and before you know it, you're like doing things that you would have never just thought of yourself. You see what I'm saying? Just from like those little spontaneous invitations you get, that you're like, okay, and later on, you know, those invitations matter and can become more and more significant to the point where you're recognizing this other area. You know, like it's not necessarily a part of life that you consciously brought into your life, but nonetheless, it's there and it's important, and it's affects just your overall experience. And so I think spontaneity is probably a big factor in that gray area. Could be.
yeah, definitely. Again, it's so different for each person, and kind of that's the beauty of it. Like I was saying, that there's no common thread between any of the zines that I've put my hands on with this donation drive. They're just, the only thing is that someone had decided that it was a zine, and they decided that they wanted to donate it. That's it. Everything is so unique. The materials used, the content matter, the languages, that it's really a unique handmade process for people, even if it's digital. Like it's just the beauty in that, right? And I think that's why libraries sometimes don't even know what to do with that, because they're like, well, we don't really know how to catalog this, or we don't know how to advertise this, or even in this conversation, it's like we can discuss what a zine is until forever. But for me personally and professionally, I've learned to just kind of look at it. If someone is deciding to call this a zine, then most likely, except for some very rare weird things, like if it's a published book and a publisher is selling it and it's a novel, I'm probably not going to call it a zine. But if it's a 2-page document and someone stapled it, like it's just so, there really is just constant middle ground gray areas. Like there's not everyone's comfortable with that, and that could be very challenging for people. But it's like the fact that we can create spaces for that to exist in today's world, I think is so important. And I think should be taken seriously, of that people should be able to have a space where they can make whatever they want and be able to be viewed if they want to, if they choose to be.
Speaking of, Lisa, in the chat, a question: where can people see the call for zines if they want to share it?
That's a good question.
Personal experience, like I said, I met Lisa at ALA and then followed her on Instagram, and then she posted this like zine workshop that she was hosting at this record store, and I was like, ooh, a record store that sells coffee and zines, say less. So I was there. So social media is a really, really great tool in that aspect. Just like a lot of like community roots, I would say, like local bookstores, local coffee shops, like check their community flyer boards, because a lot of places are doing it as far as I know. Lisa, Amanda, you got anything? You probably are more versed than I am on this.
I was just gonna post the link that the original post was on. Yeah.
Thank you, Amanda. Yeah, I mean, I'm planning on putting it on the Venice Instagram too. It's just I've been having to wait for approval from the powers that be above me. But it takes time sometimes. We are dealing with an institution still, so it's like a lot of channels. Ziba knows this very well. And but honestly, the great news is that most zine library locations that are all on the LAPL website, which I think Ziba put, but I'll put too,
She did.
is we'll take donations. As long as there's a zine library, it doesn't have to be just for this initiative. You can donate at any time. This is just a special thing that we decided to do to help build new zine libraries. We didn't expect it to kind of go this far, which has been amazing. Yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you so much, Monica. And that's the beauty, is that you can donate at any time. You just can I would suggest either contacting the branch, calling them, or coming in person. And we're getting new zine locations too because of this initiative and other things that are happening. So this is going to continue growing. This is just a middle stage right now.
Yeah.
What started.
And I would say, like, don't get discouraged either. Like Lisa was saying, some libraries don't really know what to do.
Well, I'm so sorry. Monica, can you mind if I jump in here really quickly? Because that was a really cool reminder that we can donate zines anytime. And I just wanted to ask you, I overheard, I heard the part about you actually barcode the zines and file them. And so they're a part of a real library system. Right?
Yeah.
It sounds like that.
They're available for checkout.
Yeah.
And available for checkout.
Yeah, and that's the nitty gritty part of it as far as like a librarian goes, because we do have to input specific metadata into our catalog so that people can see exactly what they're looking for as far as like info about the zine, the size, things like that. So that is a very specific part. But if you're looking to like donate to a library and like you get told no, like don't get discouraged. And don't take it personally either. Lisa, Ziba, also myself, we know the red tape, so to speak, in the library world, and we do our best to try to like navigate that. But if you have someone that's telling you no, just go to another library. I'm currently working on building a zine library here. So I am working on getting like a policy, because again, with any library, there needs to be like a collection development policy. That's just what it is. So it isn't, like Lisa was saying, overnight. There is a process, and we have to make sure that we're abiding by the collection development policy, and that varies between institutions. But like, again, don't get discouraged. Don't take it personal. If that library doesn't work out, I assure you there's going to be another one that's like, yes, give me them. So I would like to throw out that my library would be, yes, give me them. So feel free to do that too.
Yeah, send them to Monica Whittier. And I think that's another reminder is not every librarian is going to know what a zine is.
No.
Like Monica said this in the beginning of the session, but our world is really small. You know, Zinester world is really small. The librarian Zinester world is even smaller. It is.
I think what I mostly got is don't be discouraged. And also you can be specific about the library you want to work.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, as long as they already have a zine collection. Now, there's 71, 72 branches at LAPL. Not every branch is going to accept zine donations because they don't have a zine library. So it's really important to recognize that too. It's not that they dislike zines or they're not interested in your art. It's just they don't have a collection.
Yeah, they either don't have the space for it, they don't have the staff for it, they don't have like anyone equipped to take it on. Like the libraries that have existing zine libraries, they have like usually one person who's like who's like, yes, I will take this on. But yeah, my big takeaway is like, don't be discouraged. I'm fortunate that I work for a pretty smaller city library, so I have a little bit more creative freedom, I guess. So when I did that zine workshop and I was like, I would like to do more, my bosses were like, okay, like what? And I said, here's this Zine Fest plan. I already applied for the grant. Can I do it? So but it varies from library based off of staffing, time, space, all of that stuff really.
So their policies, right? It's like we're still dealing with institutions. And one of the reasons why I wanted to work for Los Angeles Public Library is because there were zine libraries, actually, truly. And Ziba started that. And that's crazy to me that like it took someone like Ziba to come. You did help, but like, you know, thank you. I'm like, you didn't quite, it's like a whole story there of starting these zine libraries and growing them. And it does take one or two individuals that are willing to put in extra time. This isn't part of our job duties necessarily. This is something that we're all very passionate about. Like this isn't an expectation of our supervisors. It's like, no, this is something that I'm bringing to this space because thank you. I was like, I knew there were other people, Ziba, Angie and Iago. And yeah, it's been a journey. And I think Ziba, one day you should talk about that in Zine Club of how you brought zines to LAPL and Long Beach. And they haven't always been welcomed in these spaces. This is a relatively new phenomenon in the last like 20 years. So, you know, and we're like every person that has donated during this time, I'm planning on using the data to show like our supervisors and the people above us to be able to be like, hey, this is how impactful this is for our community. Like, look at what we can do with this. This is just during this time, people saw that this is what happened to one of our branches. Like, let's do more with this. Let's make zines more important. And they need data. This is kind of how institutions run. So I'm hoping to really run with that too. And to make more spaces for that and for them to take it a little bit, they're already, you know, they take it seriously enough to let us have spaces, but to even grow it, like there's so much we can do with this, with like the cataloging, the availability, the like having librarians have opportunities to make zine libraries. Like we want to continue growing in that. And we couldn't do that without zinesters like you guys who are in this meeting. We really couldn't.
Trying to see if there's anything else we were like wanting to touch on. I felt like we covered all of our how we became a part of the zine communities, the impact of the fire on the community, the beauty of the zine community, and how we will all continue to show up. So, friends.
Yeah. Any more questions or any last statements, Amanda? Do you want to say anything else, Monica?
No, I'm just, again, really grateful to have stumbled into this and sort of just run with it. And it's definitely I feel like it's helped me as far as like the librarian that I am, specifically like working in a public library. I always joke that I'm like a walking billboard for this place because every time someone's like, oh, I don't know, I was like, you know who has that? A library, probably. So it's been really nice to just like grow as a librarian, but also offer something else to my community, because for a lot of people, they're just looking to belong and they're looking to connect. And I think that's so important after like isolating during the pandemic and everything that's going on. So it's just been a pretty great way to just like see it grow and how it changes me as a person, but also as a librarian.
Yeah. Oh God, Monica, that was beautiful. It's true. And it's given me a purpose too as a librarian beyond just what I already care about with public service. But again, I maybe it's a little self-serving with my own past, but just giving people spaces. I think that's a very common thing in humanity, is wanting to make it better for the next generation. And I'm a teen librarian, and so I'm constantly trying to push zines on my teens of being like, hey, you
Same.
know,
And for
zine.
whatever reason they won't take it, I'm like, you can make it about anything. What are you
I know.
listening to right now?
I
What are
know.
you watching? What book
I'm
did you
constantly like,
read?
here, you don't have to share it, just make one. And they're like,
Yes. I'm like, you just want to like cut some pieces of paper and glue. That's
yeah,
it. Stop
yeah.
thinking about it so hard. Just do it.
So real.
I feel like the Shia LaBeouf, like, just do it to my teens.
It's so real. And again, I think it just goes to show people are just not comfortable with freedom in that way of what
No.
they want to
True.
be told. This is how you do it to get the perfect item if you follow
Yeah.
these rules. And I think that's beautiful to be able to create those spaces for people to be like, hey, I'm not going to really care what this looks like, but I think you should make something. And getting over that fear mentality and perfectionism, and just being able to have that, I think that's so important. And that's given me like a platform for myself as a librarian. It's like a voice for myself of, hey, like this is important. And I'm able to talk about really important subjects that matter to me through zines, and to bring that into my space as a librarian, I think it's been really life-changing for me, and I think will continue to be. And gosh, I can't imagine what the last few months would have been like without Amanda and Monica's support in this project. It ended up being a lot of self-care too, through connection, and I
And
think
just
that's a
like
beautiful
checking in,
thing.
like, hey, you doing
Mhm.
okay over there?
Yeah.
So that's been nice
Totally.
too. Meeting a whole bunch of different people. That's been,
Mhm.
I always joke that I'm like, if I'm not paid, don't talk to me. But because you know, that's the thing too. Like our jobs, you too, Amanda, we're all like front facing customer service. So like to be able to communicate and like connect with people on a different level is sort of rewarding too, and not like a weird way, but in a like, oh, you like that fandom too, great, like that's
Yeah.
mean. So that's been nice too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
definitely. I'll just add a little extra. I mean, y'all already like covered so many beautiful aspects of this whole thing that we've, been a part of. But yeah, so grateful to just see the community come out and support us with like the most generosity I've ever seen. Like this is like insane. And just yeah, really grateful that I've connected with both of you as well. And like again, like you said, like the self-care, it's just been so nice. Like another aspect of like the community, right? Where it's like on a smaller level, it's like, hey, how's it going? And it's like, oh my gosh, like so much has happened in just like this 3 months of 2025. Like it's
Oh.
been such a, I know it's been, and so I'm
yeah.
so grateful to have had both of you as we've been going through these crazy times. But like also, like you said, like creating these spaces for people to lean into that creativity and freedom is so important. And this whole thing has really inspired me to also like try to look for ways that I can do that as well. Like I've been thinking about wanting to like teach more zine workshops or like things like that. And like it's like
Teach at my library. Come teach at my
yeah.
library.
We got connections. We got lots of places to do it. And also
I know.
too, that's a thing as well, is if people want to like be part of programming or want
Yeah.
to be involved in their community, come talk to us. Talk
Yeah.
to Eva first if you feel more comfortable with her. But like librarians are always looking for ways to connect to the community in a real way. And that's what we do as zinesters, right? It's connecting to ourselves, connecting to other people, building bridges. And it's like, I would have never met Amanda and Monica if I hadn't been a zinester, if I hadn't put myself out there. It just wouldn't have happened. And
Yeah.
that's a form of community care too. Thanks, Amanda, for saying that. That jumped my brain. I was like, oh my God, you're right.
No, absolutely. I mean, really, like being a zinester has been like I've met the coolest people after having started making zines. And like it's so funny because like after this, and then I'm like, whoa, I'm like starting to know so many librarians. And then like teen librarians
It's
specifically,
like,
y'all are so
join us,
cool.
join
And then
us.
honestly, I was like, but like, so I'm near the Arcadia Public Library, and they're also
Oh,
the teen library,
Arcadia.
and the teen librarian there is so cool too. And I was like, whoa.
You should program with her. Bring
Yeah,
her
do
to
I want
it.
to.
Just
Jessica.
like, here's my business card if you're ever
Yeah.
interested.
I've been doing
I've
this
thought of
drive for
that.
zines.
I'm like, maybe I can do a zine workshop for the,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
Bring
yeah,
it to
for
the
the kids over
team.
here,
Bring
the
it to
Why
the
teens
does
over
team.
not just come
here.
here? You could do it here.
So just, that energy, just keeping it going, it's just been like really heartening, in these weird, crazy times. So yeah, just really grateful for all of that.
Nice little tether.
Yeah, definitely keeping us a little bit more grounded. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ziba. I mean, just for
know,
letting
thank
us gush
you.
about each other too. But I mean, it really has been just a very, I know it sounds silly, but like a life-changing event for me to see how much people care, to get packages from all over the world and letters. And it also has impacted my staff. They didn't understand how much zines are important. And
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, like, and then they're like,
Love
oh my
it.
God, another package for you. And I'm like, it's a zine.
They're
You
like,
know?
whoa, so many packages. You're like,
Yeah,
yeah.
like they didn't get it. They didn't get it until they saw, and they're like, "Oh, this is important." And
Yeah.
it's like,
Nice.
yeah, yeah,
Like the legitimacy of zines is
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Big
like
going
it's
win.
up.
important. We
Yeah.
value this. Like we
Yeah.
need to make this a priority more now than ever of people's speech and their art and again, like not to be I'm sappy right now, but it's like everyone in this meeting, it's like zinesters who show up to things or connect, like none of this could happen without that.
Yeah. No, a big part of what we as librarians get to do is because there are people that want to do it.
Yeah,
And so I'm like, okay, then let's make it happen.
yeah. But without that, like there's none of this would be here. So thank you for coming and listening to us gush about the
Yeah, sorry,
community.
it was like a feel fest. We haven't seen each other in a while, so
It's just us hanging out.
I told you I was just here for vibes.
Thank you,
Thank you
John.
all.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you,
Bye,
John, for always
John.
showing up. And thank you to Jessica for coming back. I haven't seen Jessica, the professor of punk, in a while. So I want to acknowledge Jessica's here and made a zine as well that I hope to see with how's that going, your
Maxwell,
zine?
yeah, I've actually just real quick.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
First off, thank you so much for all the work that you've done and continue to do and for the presentation. Like, I'm so happy that this is my first time back in a while. I was like on sabbatical and like totally, in my own world. But anyways, um, yeah, I mean, I started coming here when I first became a mom, which is like, and I'd been doing zines like on and off for kind of like 20 years. I started teaching them again like after a long time and um but I didn't know what to do during the pandemic with this like not even 1-year-old. And so I had him do art. I would kind of tell him in whatever language, like what we were doing here and like, you would see some of the artwork and then just do lines and stuff. Yeah, Maxwell, totally. And he's now like in daycare and everything, almost in kindergarten, which is wild, another year. But what I'm doing is like on 4/7, we had a zine club in 2022 online. And so today I'm going to talk to him and ask him, what was this about? Do you remember? And so I'm going to collect stories because he has a great imagination, right? And so I'm going to, it's a much longer process. And then hopefully on some interesting medium, we'll build something from that. And then I'll also have it in more kind of like zine paper form. So yeah, it's ongoing, to answer your question in like long form, but it's a process. And yeah, it's cool. And it speaks to what you all were saying about process and interpersonal relationships and ones that are not necessarily, economically or value driven in that respect, right? I also know that for a very long time, motherhood and other things were like very devalued, right?
Yeah.
Certain kinds of work like that and caretaking and stuff. So I think that, and also like during that pandemic, all kinds of caretaking, you know, it was like people were essential workers, but like they needed so much more support, right?
Mm.
So anyways, that's all I have to say. And during times like the fire and all times, really, I mean, all times there's some crisis going on for, you know, who defines that, right? It's all contextual. And anyways, thank you for everything you're doing and good to see you again, you know, to everybody. So.
I want to say thank you also because it was amazing to join this month, and I hope I'm joining next month as well.
Yeah. Thank you for your questions. Yeah, thank you guys for giving us a chance to gush with you all about and sharing, you know, we're here. Even as like Amanda, you're an incredible communicator with the community with art, and we could not have connected with as many people as you. So, you know, like don't devalue that. Like you are a community leader. So thank you so much, you know. Yeah.
Thank you. Not at all, but thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Guess that's
everyone.
it.